All right, you can throw that out.
I'll cut that.
All right,
All right, we
good to
ready?
go.
All right, here we go. And we are actually going live on YouTube. So, welcome, YouTube universe. Welcome back to the Wartime Leadership Podcast, where we explore what spiritual resilience looks like in the lives of our guests, who are people from all different walks of life. Hey, listen, folks, I gotta time out here real quick because I know I've been away for quite a while. Haven't been recording. A lot of life stuff has been happening. If some of you have been watching us for a while, you'll notice I got a little bit of a goatee going because I am now out of slash still in the Air Force, but on my way to retirement. We've been going through a lot of stuff the last 6 months, so I thank y'all for your requests. I know I've received a lot of email, a lot of direct messages on all the different platforms. So here we are, and we're back. And tonight is a very special one for me. You see, we got Jeff in the office, we got Dwight in the office, we got everybody coming in, and these are two gentlemen from two different aspects of my military career. G and I, as y'all know, have known each other for quite a while, having served together in Guam. Well, Dwight and I served as MTIs, military training instructors together. And I have to tell you, I have looked up to this man for so many different reasons. Number one, because of who he is as a person. And number two, who he is as a person to bring others along with him. So tonight's special guest, Dwight Scott. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you having me on the podcast.
I guess I should actually just say, how you doing, Teamy? Because in the MTI world, like a Teamy is somebody that you got to lean on at all
Absolutely,
times.
absolutely. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk about spiritual resiliency. It's something that I haven't heard most people talk about, but something that should be in conversation for sure.
Yeah, and I know G will also kind of say this too because we've all served in the military and we know what the Air Force is like, especially when it comes to resilience. You got to be mentally resilient. Go on a run, go unthink yourself. Physical, go for a run, go for a workout, go do something to exert that physical energy. And then social, go hang out with people, be with people, interact, be spiritually resilient. Uh, yep, well, that's
Yeah.
that's where that pretty much ends. So that's kind of where the concept came from for this podcast, was just to sit down, have conversations with people of all different faiths, unfaiths, unbeliefs, beliefs, yes believe, no believe, left right belief, whatever it looks like. It's just to explore, to kind of help individuals out to get a better idea and an understanding of how they can be spiritually resilient themselves. So if you've listened to the show, you know that I got to start with 5 easy questions. And by the way, they're not that easy, but they are completely random using my random generator on my phone.
Okay. Okay.
All right, and here's the cool thing: I actually know a lot of these answers for you. But anyways, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh man. Um, I'm gonna say for me, I'm most likely to lean towards an introvert. Believe it or not.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. But when you need to be, you're a complete extrovert.
Yes, when I need to be, absolutely, that can be. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, because I've seen both sides, folks, and trust me, I like this side a lot better than the other side. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
do you believe in aliens?
And who
In aliens?
do I believe in aliens? Man, you asked us something. Uh, do I believe in aliens? Oh man, is there a time limit on these questions? Because that's
Well, they are kind of quick fire. So if you slow down, then we'll go as quick as your fire is. And you were a cop. I mean, come on.
I'm going to
You're telling me
say.
you? Yeah.
I'm going to say yes.
You're gonna
I
say
was,
yes. Now,
I was gonna say you. All your times on patrol. You've never seen anything you couldn't necessarily explain. I've seen some crazy stuff out in the desert here and abroad that I'm like, you know what? Those lights ain't, and there's nothing flying because I'm in command post watching the aircraft. So I'm like X Files. I want to believe. So I look at that, but when it got close to me in Arizona, I'm like, okay, this is I can't explain this. And then the lights died, and about 5 minutes later, a bunch of Apaches and stuff like that from Fort Huachuca just came flying overhead, like just lighting up the whole desert, like they were looking
See,
for
Wow.
something.
and that's what I'm talking about. Dwight, you gotta believe. You
I,
gotta you
well,
gotta
now that
believe.
you say that, I mean that brought back some memories. I definitely had some craziness that happened in Minot. Why not Minot?
Oh yeah.
Um, Very similar. Some crazy things happening out there on the flat line with the vehicles and lighting and stuff. It was really weird. Um, and oddly enough, I was stationed in Las Vegas, uh, and I don't think I had anything crazy happen. I was stationed out there in Creech,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
which is now Creech Air Force Base. It used to be an annex back in the day
Mm-hmm.
when I was
Yeah.
there, and now they turned it into a base. But there was definitely we would definitely get phone calls about the aliens. I'll never forget. Now that you mentioned it, there was a guy that would constantly call the gate and would talk about the aliens all the time, and we'd be like, "Sir, what are you talking about?" So yeah, so there definitely was, yeah,
Hey,
yes,
well, I know why you didn't say anything being in Vegas because what happens in Vegas stays in
stays in
Vegas.
me.
Hey, what is something
Oh,
about your life, something about you that would surprise me?
That would surprise you. Uh, I'm a poet. I do poetry. I do open mic. I haven't done it in a while, but I am a poet. I actually have a published book of poems. That might surprise you, I would say.
Hey, Jeff, did you like that little drop? Boop. I'm a published poet. Boop.
well, you know, we hit drops at the end of the show, so we promote which our host tends to forget sometimes when he gets too carried away with our guests because we need to promote their stuff too. That's all about it. I mean, hey, you come on this platform, show us what you got.
I do have a tendency to get how do you say, a little excited. Hey, if you could travel back to any one point in time, what would it be?
um, One point in time,
If I could turn
I
back
would say
time.
Oh man, that's a the first thing. I don't know why. The first thing that came to my mind was going back in time to see Bruce Lee perform martial arts. I love
That
Bruce Lee. I'm a big Bruce Lee fan. And so for some reason, when you said that, that was just the first thing that popped into my mind. Yo, go see Bruce Lee. Like, why not? So
that's a good one. Yeah.
yeah.
That, I haven't had that answer.
I mean,
But
even to
I
go
think
see like Enter the Dragon on like opening day would be good.
Yeah.
Just like say everyone wants to go back to like the signing of the Declaration of Independence. I'm like, can you get in there? But
Yeah.
like to go to Star Wars 1977 and go to
oh jeez.
opening day, that. Those are little things that you probably would not affect the future, but you're like, ah,
I agree.
you get all excited.
Well, speaking of childhood fantasies, what would the child version of yourself would they look up to you currently?
Yes, absolutely. Um,
There you have it.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, to see, yes, they would to be able to see the difference, to see the growth that took place over the years, for sure. I would say yes.
Yeah, I think that people like us kind of experiencing BMT basic training from a different perspective and seeing and I'm sure you experience it all the time there, where you're like the complete jerk. Nobody wants to emulate. Nobody wants to be like. And then over that period of time, eventually, like they start to march like you. If
Yeah, yeah,
people
They love
march leaning way back, you
they
knew
love you
exactly
like
who they
daddy.
were. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
They
then at
start
the end of
looking
it,
at
like
you
all of a
like a
sudden, like
parent. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's important, especially for the people that don't have parents
Yeah. I
or
mean,
both
yes,
parents.
I
It
saw a
becomes a
lot
big
of
yes,
deal.
people, they came in, they turned that stuff around by the end, and that's a marvelous transformation. I really, I just kept my head. My dad was in the army, so I'm like, he's like, just keep your head down and do your thing, and it's fine. They're gonna yell at you. It's all good. They can't touch you.
Yeah,
yeah. That's well, they can't touch you
unlike
now.
unlike
yeah,
his, I mean, I came in the '90s, and they still weren't really allowed to touch you. I got some stories, but it was still pretty lax, according to what the old movies make it out as. People watch Full Metal Jacket and people like I'm like, that was in the '60s. But that's nothing near.
yeah. Even now, the snake pit for the Marine Corps is actually pulled away, so it seems to have adjusted, like the overcorrection, if you will, of what was, what was.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
hey, so to get into the meat of what this podcast is, first off, Dwight, I'm humbled and I'm honored to have you here because you and I spent a lot of time together over that. I guess we were only in the same squadron for maybe a couple of years or a little
yeah,
bit over a year, maybe before you moved on. But we during that year, like we spent a lot of time and invested a lot into each other, and I know that there's been a lot of things that have changed since that time, right? You've gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot. G has as well. Like we go through stuff in life that really kind of tests our limits. So take as long as you want. This is your testimony time, your story, whatever you want to call it. Kind of just take us where you've been, what you've gone through, and where you're going on this journey.
yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So where do I start? So yes, like you said, I guess I'll kind of pick up from where you left off. Yes, we known each other for quite some time now, and we haven't really spoke a lot, but we kept in touch. You know how it is when you got military buddies. You can pick up where you left off, and it's like you didn't miss a day. And so after I left basic military training, I went to New Mexico, so Alamogordo out there in the desert,
Oh,
and
cool.
absolutely, I actually enjoyed it. Actually enjoyed it. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Getting out there. And funny story, how I got to New Mexico. As you know, when it's time to leave BMT, we got this list we can pick the bases and so forth. And I'm picking the bases, and so some reason, um, I don't know. Alamogordo was definitely not. Holloman was not my choice. I was trying to pick Hill Air Force Base. I thought I selected Hill, and so I'm like, cool. So I get the orders. I get the email notification saying, "Hey, you got selected for orders." I'm like, cool. And I'm like, okay. So I'm rushing to work to go check the computer, and I look at it, and it says Holloman, and I'm like, Holloman. I'm like, that wasn't on my list. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, I don't even know what I said. So I looked it up, and I called my then wife, and I'm like, hey, we got orders. She's like, where we going? I'm like, Holloman. And she was like, Holloman. She was like, yeah, I didn't tell you to pick Holloman. I told you to put Hill. And I was like, oh, well, we're going to Holloman now. And so that's how we got to Holloman. Me not listening to my wife and selecting the wrong thing. But anyway, we get to Holloman, and Holloman was a good base. Did my last 3 days, 3 years there. Did one deployment from there, and from there, I actually think I had two more children prior to me retiring. And so when it came to retiring, I it was a tough decision, a decision that I did not want to make, but it was for my family, to try to give them a more stable life. That was the first time that my family had experienced a deployment, and I think that really, that really had an effect on them. And and so I was like, well, I don't think I can keep doing this, as if I continue on into the military. So we decided to retire. I decided to retire. We decided to come back to North Carolina, where I currently am, towards the Charlotte area, because that was a hub for my wife at the time, her job. She works at Wells Fargo, so that was a hub for her. And so my idea of retirement was to, move to North Carolina to also, establish, roots and stuff for my family. Also to be closer to a son that I have that was in Charleston, South Carolina, and really just try to start a new life. And I would tell you that I think that that's when uh, things continue to be more challenging for me. Um, I was starting to have um, marital issues, things in the marriage. I don't know. I just really can't put my finger on it. But I would say this. I would say that shortly after, probably about a year of us being here in the Charlotte area, um, my wife, ex-wife now, decided um, to leave. And so we've had some conversations, and unfortunately, conversations about divorce, and I was doing all that I could do. I was doing counseling, taking different classes. I even checked in myself. It was a class. It was actually for recovering like type alcoholics and stuff, but they accepted me into the program because they felt like, well, some of the things that they do would be beneficial to me. So I even did this like 9-week class where I'm going like 3 times a week, learning these different coping skills and learning how to better communicate, and all these different things. And then I'm still kind of getting medical appointments, and being diagnosed with PTSD, and just really a lot kind of happening as I was transitioning. And then again, shortly after, we had some conversation, and she wanted to to move out. And I'm saying, listen, I don't want to do this. I don't want to separate. But if you feel like we need to separate, then let me leave. You stay in the home with the children, and I will go find a place. That way, you and the kids are stable, and you don't have to do all this moving around. And for some reason, she just that just wasn't what she wanted to do. I think she was really focused on getting her own place. She wanted to just get out of that place. Her excuse was, "I want to move closer to the girls' school," and and all these different things. And so, again, I was totally against it, but I was like, well, I'm not going to force this thing. I want you to definitely get your space. And so in October, uh, just shortly after our 7-year anniversary. So just shortly after our 7-year anniversary, she moved out. She moved out. She had found a place online. She moved out, and I just remember sitting there one day in an empty house, and I'm like, man, this is. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to say. It was weird. It was the most awkward silence that I've ever heard, because I now have a 3-bedroom home with nothing in it, just bare furniture. My children are gone, and I knew that the separation would make things worse, and it absolutely did. It absolutely did. And I would say that I absolutely felt betrayed in this entire process, because the conversation was always to separate to get back together. So to work on certain things, do counseling, but it further separated us. And I had that fear going into it that that would happen. And it did. And so we would separate. We didn't do things together anymore. She would do her own thing with the kids. I would do my own thing with the kids. It was really a tough time, and it was a year, right? And so in the state of North Carolina, and I believe in South Carolina as well, that you have to be separated for a year before you could, divorce. And again, my that was not my intention. So for a year straight, it was trying. It absolutely was trying, and I'm going to tell you that I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for my faith. If it wasn't for my faith, and being surrounded by people who I could talk to, man, I really don't know, because some of the things that transpired over the year, like it really made me second guess like who this person was. It's almost like, who did I marry? Like where's all this coming from? Like, why is this happening? And so I would tell you right now, like 3 4 months into it, I get hit with legal paperwork saying, "Oh, by the way, here's this custody agreement that you need to sign." And I'm saying, "Well, wait a minute. Why are we doing a custody agreement? Like what? Why are we
we're not
taking
even going
legal
through the divorce.
actions?
Yeah.
Huh?"
You're not even going through the process of the divorce. Why do you have to
Yeah,
do?
that's kind of dirty.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I literally got hit with that, and I was so surprised. I was so shocked, and I'm like, and so I'm gonna tell you right now, I wish I would have gotten a lawyer sooner, because I really was trying to like make things work. I did not get a lawyer, so this whole process, it wasn't until like the end of the year when I was like, okay, now I truly see you for who you are. Let me get a lawyer, because you're really trying to like destroy me, you know. And so that happened, and then I would say that the next time we went to court was for the child support, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Because I was still paying for things, and like I was giving her money, and so initially it was hard. I couldn't, because I had a whole household. We had two households. So initially I didn't give her. I gave her what I could, but um, I made the decision that in March of 2023, that I would move out of my home. So I broke the lease. Thankfully, all the money that I had in my security deposit covered everything, so I didn't owe anything. So I broke the lease to stay with an uncle, um, and then I was able to give her more money from that month moving forward, because I knew that I had to take care of my kids, and so I did. But yet we still had this court date for child support, and brother, I would tell you that I went to the court. Um, Along with her, I met her there, thinking that it was going to be just, a quick discussion about, what I make, what she makes, what they're going to decide to make me pay, and so forth. And I will tell you that that was the worst experience I think I've ever felt. Like, I literally
Mm.
felt like I was on trial, being persecuted almost, like, and her lawyer questioned me, and I mean, just tried to tear my character to shreds, and it was horrible. I mean, she was trying to say, what, you calling yourself a veteran, you're not taking care of your family, you purposely chose to quit your job, I mean, tore me down, like, try to tear me down. And I
Wait, wait,
remember,
wait, wait, wait.
yeah,
So, so her lawyer is coming at you as a veteran, as a retiree, saying that you quit your job and that you weren't taking care of your family, that you call yourself a veteran.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it's a title that I earned.
Yeah, yeah. It was tough, man. It was really tough, and so it took everything in me, and so I had to defend myself. And again, now I look back at hindsight. I said, man, I should have had a lawyer, but I really did not know that that was going to happen. I absolutely had no idea. Um, and so I remember towards the end, like how you would see on TV or in court, they give a closing statement, and I had to give my own closing statement. And that was the time that I spoke up for myself. I was like, Your Honor, I said, I don't understand. I said, listen, ma'am, I get it. Um, I said, I am a veteran. I said, however, me being a veteran means that I take care of responsibility. I understand
Mm.
responsibility. I understand service. I understand sacrifice. I understand servitude. So I had to speak for myself, and hope that that would, do me something good. And I would tell you, brother, it didn't. It didn't. It didn't.
Wow.
It didn't do me any good. And I'm still kind of fighting the whole child support thing. And afterwards, I this is where I really try to be spiritually resilient, because even after all of that, I consoled my wife. She she was an emotional wreck. She's crying, and honestly, I'm upset, but I'm trying to console her, because again, we're still married, and I'm still trying to do my husband duties. And I think she really saw what was happening. I'm like, okay, do you see what just took place and how they tried to betray me, right?
How
And I
how did
remember,
how did she react to you? Because see, I'm in a little bit of a position. Most of the audience isn't going to know her. I do, right?
yeah,
I helped you all move in to your
yep,
house. I
yep.
remember. Uh, how did she react when you took that opportunity to console her?
It was something, man. It really was, because she was really upset emotionally, because she saw how they played us against each other. I don't really think that she understood that was going to take place either. I really believe that, because otherwise she wouldn't have the emotional response that she did. And so I remember going back to her place, and I said, "Listen," I said, I just let her talk, and I consoled her, and I just talk. We just talk. And I remember her saying, "I'm so confused." She said, "I'm so confused
Mm.
because you're still here, and you stood up for me, and you fought for me and the girls." And it kind of like, and I'm like, and I just wanted to scream and be like, "Yes, that's what I've been trying to do during this
As you
entire
should.
marriage. Like, fight for you and my family. Like, that's what I've been trying to show you. And I hate the fact that I had to show you this way." And so she was like, "Yeah, I'm just so confused." She said, I just didn't think that you would do that, even what we're going through." And I'm just like,
Wow.
"Woman, that's what I've been trying to do, you know." Um, so I thought we had a decent conversation, but then she said this, and then this is when it also made me think, okay. Then she responded with, "We went through all of that, and I still don't have or know what I should be getting paid monthly." So I was like, "So this is really all about the money then?" Like, that's the thought that came to my mind. I was like, "Okay, I see what I'm dealing with here." So
Uh,
that was a day after my youngest
that's
daughter's
rough.
birthday, when I went to
That's
court.
rough, man.
Yeah,
Uh, that's kind of where I would put a drop. Right there is like, oh, burn or something like that, just to lighten it up. But it's like, damn, dude. Uh, you're like, you get the real emotion there, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. But then you're like, oh, it's all about the money. So what it can be both. I mean, I've been married for 20 years, and yeah, we've around halftime. That's when things got a little sour. So
wow.
yeah, we've all been we. I don't want to say we've all been there, but a lot of us been adjacent or very close to, and it's tough, especially trying to know
Hmm.
the psyche of the opposite sex.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave that at that. Nate, take it away.
Yo, hey, man, just knowing that you took that time to console, to grab onto her, to talk her through what was happening. I mean, she's still the mother of your children, right? You're still their dad. Did it end up becoming more about the money, or was it just the other stuff attached to what was there?
Yeah, honestly, I think it was about the money. because I took time to reflect on the court date, the court session that took place. And I said, okay, I understand you're asking more financially, which honestly, I was already giving her 2,200 a month, right?
Wow.
And I'm gonna tell
I
you
think
right
the
now,
lawyers have something to do with that when they get in people's heads. You can't completely blame it on the person because people are very susceptible, especially when they're hurting. You
yeah,
know, and in crisis and in the whole thing. So when people suggest and like they start just telling you, oh, you need to get this for you and this and that, and they're like, well, maybe I should.
yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like yeah, there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot less black and white in the world, and so
I think there's also the aspect of making, as humans, we naturally want to make sure that we're being taken care of, right? And if this is a means to being
oh
able
yeah,
to be taken care of, then it was kind of that scared moment of what's going to happen, what's next, what am I going to do, what is this, and so there might have been those thoughts going through
oh,
the
and the
mind that
government's
weren't
gonna
being
pay.
filtered, right? And the filter wasn't there. But as you reflected, what were some of the things that you did during that time? Because I don't know what I yeah.
So yeah, so let me yeah, so that is the crucial part to all of this, right? So the crucial part, so what I did was I was able to get connected to this like spiritual empowerment group, like a ministry of other believers. And so I was able to really kind of just focus on my spiritual growth. Like that's what I did. So even like this is probably about 6 months into the separation where I got connected to this group, and it was just awesome. The growth that I experienced from that group, the strength that I was able to draw from that group, definitely helped me to continue on through this process until we ultimately finally got divorced here a couple months ago. So that was pivotal. I would say that if I can give any suggestion to anyone is to find, and in that group I basically found a spiritual mentor, if you will, who had been through something very similar and was able to walk me through some things. And so, in that, we did a lot of praying, a lot of reading, some fasting. So we did a lot of spiritual things to really kind of carry me through the season that I was in.
And and even since then, an element that you have put into play is that you do on Facebook, you do a Facebook live within a group. You have a group of kind of, we might call it an accountability group,
Yeah.
where you have other men that you
Yes.
lead through
Yes.
Bible study.
Yes. Yes. So
Okay,
absolutely. So what I've so
can you?
in
Sorry. Would
go ahead.
you? Are you comfortable plugging that group? Giving them a shout out so other people in possibly the area that has might be going through similar things, so they can know. Or is it a
Uh,
little too private?
it's not private. It's definitely by I don't say it's private, but it's definitely by invitation. And so the group is it's actually called the Prophetic Empowerment Group, and the person that runs the group, her name is McPherson, Rika McPherson, and I can definitely she's on all social media platforms. She does a lot of teaching. She does a lot of stuff on Facebook as well. I believe she's also on Facebook. There's a platform called Clubhouse. I'm not sure if the listeners are familiar with it, but
Oh
she
yeah,
is on Clubhouse, and she's also in the process of writing her first book, which I think is going to be amazing. And so those are the main platforms that she is, and she does occasionally does speaking engagements as well.
and it was
Right on.
prophetic. What?
The Prophetic Empowerment Group.
Okay, and then you actually have a separate group that you created, kind of as an offstream, Daybreak Devotionals for Men, I believe.
Yes,
I know I'm a
yes,
part of the group. I should know what the name of it is. By all means, I listen to you
yes,
like after the
yes.
fact, but it's usually only about 10 10,
10,
15
15 minutes.
minutes
Yeah.
of just a daily devotional slash uh, almost feels like a mind cleanse, a heart cleanse in a way. Every single time that I listen to it, it's a little bit different, and you give perspective. And I think that there's a lot of value that you bring to it. But big question here: how do you define spiritual resilience? If you could define it, put words to action, how do you define spiritual resilience?
Yeah, that's a good question. And since you kind of brought that to my attention, as far as the invite, I said, man, wow, that's a nice term there that I like. And I was thinking about it the last couple of days, and I said, okay, how would I define that? And I think I would define it as most people know just the term resiliency and just kind of bouncing back. And so when I think of it in that perspective, I think about uh, as we're suggesting in the name, spiritual resiliency, is that spiritually, my spirit man is able to bounce back in tough situations. And so, when I think about it, I look at it as um, uh, just yeah. So being able to bounce back, but I think it's important that we continue to strengthen the spirit by spiritual disciplines. And again, I think that comes by individual disciplines that we could have when it comes to personal time that we have with the Lord. And then I also think it comes from having people, having a spiritual mentor to also help guide you through certain things in life, because it's not easy. I would tell you right now, divorce is not something that you can go by to yourself. Like, there's going to have to be somebody in your corner, in your circle, that you can talk to and talk with and be able to just express how you feel. And they may be able to give you some spiritual insight, because there's a lot of things that are spiritually being done that you just may not be aware of. And so I absolutely love that term, spiritual resiliency, because there's a lot of things that happen spiritually that we're just not aware of.
Yeah. Hey, so then how do you practice it? Like, I know, those pillars, we have to come back in and fix them and fix those cracks. And whenever we go through stuff and the pressure's applied, things happen where, they start to break up just a little bit, and we have to be able to fix them at a moment's notice. How do you build that spiritual resilience within yourself?
Yes, good question. First thing I would do is go to the Word. I go to the Word of God, right, and remind him of His Word, right. And so He loves it when we remind Him of His Word and say, "Well, Lord, you said in your Word that I would be prosperous. You said in your word that the evil would not be prosperous against me." And so just reminding him of his word, I think that's one way, and you can gain strength from reading his word. And prayer, absolutely prayer is powerful, and releasing those things unto him. So and just acknowledging all of the things that you're going through. The Bible says to cast all our cares upon him, for he careth for us. And so just giving that over to him. And again, I can't stress it enough. It's just really having a spiritual mentor in your life, in your corner. Those three things that I would say definitely would help to help with your spiritual resiliency. And then maybe one more, to reflect on the things that he's already brought you through, right?
Hmm.
Right. So it's good to remember, like, okay, you know what? I've been through some tough things before, and he's brought me through. And so remembering the testimonies that you already had, and using that to help you kind of continue in the current the current season that you're in.
Yeah. Okay. So then that's within your own world. How do you build spiritual resilience and to, oh man, this one's going to be a tough one. I know. But I'm going to go there.
Okay.
How do you build spiritual resilience within a divorced situation when you're dealing with a former spouse who's still the mother of your children? how do you build spiritual resilience in that type of connection?
That's a great question. That's a great question, and that's one that I've been really praying about lately and dealing with. And I would tell you that just this past Saturday, I had coffee with a friend of mine, morning coffee with a brother that I linked up with, um, that I haven't seen in a while, who I actually first met when I first came to North Carolina. And just so happened I visited his church one Sunday. We got reconnected, and he was like, "Hey, man, let's have coffee." But long story short, I kind of shared with him what was going on. He knew that I was separated, but he didn't knew that things were finalized. And one of the things that he told me was to pray, like to really pray for her, right? To really pray for her. And honestly, I really haven't been, because I've been having some feelings of bitterness, anger
Mm,
sometimes, betrayal,
it's
those kind of things,
understandable.
which I think is normal. But I don't want to hold on to them. I don't want to hold on to them. I don't want them to harvest, and so I have to get rid of it. And so he said that, and I begin to I have the last couple of days I begin to just pray for her. And again, I think prayer is so powerful because it allows me to, um, like he said, you know what? He said it's hard to be angry and pray for somebody. And I'm like, yeah. And I tried that. I'm like, yes, I can't be angry and pray for her because otherwise my prayers won't go too far. So that's what I've been doing. And I think that's been really uh, creating more of that spiritual resiliency.
So has she asked for forgiveness?
No, 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 she hasn't. And we don't talk uh, since the divorce. We haven't really had any tough conversations,
Mm,
and I know that we should. And I just don't think we're just there yet.
yeah.
And again, that's something that I'm praying for. Um, we're cordial, you know, um, as we can be right now. But I definitely think that some at some point we need to have a little bit more conversation.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things I can only imagine one of the hardest things would be to forgive someone who hasn't either A, asked for it, or somebody who doesn't want to be forgiven.
Mm.
I think that's got to be the hardest thing. But your kids, you've got the girls. How how do you build spiritual resilience out of this type of situation? How do you build that spiritual resilience as daddy to your kiddos?
Yeah, that's good. And truthfully, the whole situation is really um all encompassing. It really is spiritual resiliency in every facet. So now one still being a friend, right? Because we're no longer in unity. So now a friend to their mother, right? So now I have to carry myself as a righteous man, a friend. Then also as but still a father to my children, who, by the way, we still share this bond, and so it is very challenging, absolutely. And so what I try to do is I still maintain the responsibility of being the spiritual leader,
Mm,
right? So regardless, so I make sure that now I take my kids, and when they come over to visit me, we're praying, we're doing praise and worship, and we're praying for mommy, like we're praying for mommy, right? So we pray for her. And so now my kids are becoming accustomed to praying, right? And so again, I think it's just a full circle, right? So now
mm.
not only am I being spiritual resilient, but now my children, I'm teaching them to be spiritual resilient, right? So it's a full circle.
Yeah, and it's a tough role to play. It's hard enough being dad.
Yeah,
It's even harder being, the center of that healing in a lot of ways. So,
yeah.
brother, I commend you. Uh, I really commend you, man. Like
Yeah, I agree. The hardest thing is to, the be the bigger person type deal, but to not to always be positive for their mother instead of never around them. Don't let them hear you ever besmirch, even if you're joking, because I don't know how old the kids are. So that can always, you can make a joke and they're like, oh, they don't get it at the time. And that's really hard for a lot of people, especially going through pain, divorce, all that stuff, to not besmirch their parent because that's
Right.
human nature. So you have to kind of, oh, okay. And then just like let it go. Just, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? And I don't know about, I think forgiveness doesn't come from that person. They don't ask for it. You eventually, you will legitimately, because
Yeah.
you know it, God knows it, when you forgive someone.
Yeah.
And that can be silently. And that's a weight. That is a weight lifted.
Yeah.
And you
Yes.
can keep it to yourself and walk around and smile because it came to you versus you don't need the validation, like a lot of people want nowadays, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That makes a lot of sense. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Man, brother, and I've called you brother for a while. I've been blessed to be able to do so. Hearing whenever I first saw that you had gone through the divorce, because you didn't really say anything on social media too much about it, anything like that, and then all of a sudden, like I came across and I saw a post that you put, and I was like just kind of taken aback a little bit, uh, because I know who you are, right? I know what you're made of. I know who made you. More importantly, we know whose you are, uh, and just to see the grace that you've had through the process, because that really has been a level of what it is a level of grace that I've never seen anybody. But it was very very biblical in how you approached it. Uh, I've never heard you talk bad about her. I've never heard you negatively speak about her. Of course, again, we haven't spoken every single day.
Right.
I get to see you every day now because of the live that you do, which is awesome. Uh, but man, I have to tell you, Dwight, like I said at the very beginning, I looked up to you as an MTI because you had it together. You had stuff that you went through, and you didn't bring it uh, into the bay or into the drill time or anything like that. Like, you invested in a lot of great individuals and a lot of trainees that would never have seen that before, had it not been interacting with you on that daily basis. But now to see who you were there translate into who you were throughout the this process, bro, it's beyond words and leaves me speechless, which G knows doesn't happen very often on this show. I don't get speechless, and I know he wants to say something now. Go ahead. No, okay. Wow, now G is speechless. It is a double whammy today.
Oh, I've been talking too much.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, for once. Jeez. Thanks for helping now, finally. Hey, don't you know? Uh,
Well, it's because I'm going to co-host my own show, so
he's getting good practice in.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Okay.
hey, let's see. So I'm going to ask you a couple of final things. First off, what's the name of the book?
Good. All right. So I did talk about my poetry book, but that's an older book that I wrote some years ago. However, it's called Back Porch Poetry. But my newest book, which is probably about a year old, is um, the Armed Forces Guide, Devotional Guide to Fulfilling Career. Um, it is written specifically for the military community. So I highly suggest that you go get it. It's on every platform: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. Go get you a copy. I don't think you would be disappointed at all. It's a really good mixture of military lingo with faith, meshed together, and I think you know the readers will be just ecstatic to read it. So that is the book.
Yeah, and
I
I
have a
am.
joke, but like I told my last supervisor, this could have helped me 10 years ago.
So true, but the good thing is that our lingo carries on and on and on, and it never changes. So it just regurgitates itself over and over again. Uh, here's the. So I'm really excited. We'll have links to both. Is back porch poetry available as well?
Yes, that's available as well. Yes.
Okay. So we'll get links to both of those from you
Okay.
ASAP so we can get that put up. This episode will actually be airing this coming Tuesday because it's our welcome back show.
Oh, sweet.
Uh, yeah, so 100% excited about that. Any final words that you have for the listener out there?
Man, final words. Thank you, brother, for those kind words. I can't take credit for it. I just thank my heavenly Father for allowing me to be able to go through it all with His grace, with His strength. And so again, I think that as long as you just continue to put Him first, you'll be able to get through anything for sure. And so again, I thank you all for having me on this podcast, and hopefully I can come back, man. I really appreciate that.
Oh, heck yeah, man. I'm always looking for a co host.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Oh, are you firing somebody, or what? Or you just need an addition?
Oh, no, I'm not the co host. I'm his producer.
Okay. My bad.
That's the enjoyable part.
As I was.
As you twere. Hey, so I'm excited. You're excited. We're gonna have him back. We're definitely going to have you back, Dwight, because I think we get along good. And
Yeah,
plus, we need to do a
absolutely.
live show together. with you anyways, I got another microphone that's just over here doing nothing right now, and could use
Absolutely. I
some
know where
fresh
you're at.
breath.
You're in my hometown, so yeah, we gotta do a live show together. Yeah, too easy. Yeah, we can make that happen.
Hey, thank you so much, Dwight, for coming along, enjoying this ride. Thanks for welcoming us back, everyone, back from a long siesta. Here we are. We have awoken the giant, and we are back. We're going to be doing it live a lot more. We're going to be doing a lot more shows, different types of topics. Obviously, you've seen that today we've got a little bit of a different turnaround with G finding his voice and joining us a little bit more. And let me tell you, we are blessed here at the Wartime Leadership Podcast by every single one of you and the entire team that has joined us week in and week out. If you haven't done so, go to 369sounddesigns.com to check out where G does his magic. And again, we are blessed by all of you. Be blessed.